You're now tuned in to the Week 17 Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts, Amalean, fourth from the cross, and Stat Guy Matt. Remember, trust no one except for these guys.
Thank you, Voice Guy. If you haven't listened the past couple of weeks, you can only trust us. Week 17. Hello, how are you all doing today? It's week 7 of 17, and this is our second podcast. I'm your host, fourth from the cross. Just call me fourth.
And it's your boy Amalean, aka the Mexican football god. Let's get this going.
Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? Stat Guy Matt here, ready to talk football.
Yes, sir. You know, what's up? Anybody get any waiver wire picks they really wanted this week?
Boring stuff for me. Just a defense, but then I made a couple of free agency moves early in the morning.
Yeah, the waiver wire is getting real thin out there. So what I started doing, I started looking ahead at my buys. So I went ahead and picked me up a quarterback.
Well, there you go. I picked up your boy Marquise Goodwin. You know, there was nobody really out there, and I don't know. I didn't want to just waste my number 2 waiver claim on nothing. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and let's jump right into the first segment. You know how it goes, right? I'll kill the music, and then we'll bring in Voice Guy.
Start 'em, sit 'em, pick 'em.
All right. So check it. Teams on bye this week. It looks like we have 4 teams. The first one, the Packers. Oh, man, it's a lot of offense right there. Aaron Rodgers, Jamal Williams, Aaron Jones, Ty Montgomery, Devontae Adams, Randall Cobb, Geronimo Allison, Jimmy Graham, and Mason Crosby.
Yikes.
Yeah. Raiders, nobody really cares about this offense because they just don't do too well.
Well, Jordy Nelson, you're a big Jordy Nelson fan.
Man, he let me down this past week, man. He's talking 0.7 points, but that offense was looking horrible.
Versus who?
What team
yours truly right here. Come on, let's go.
I forgot. What was it? What team was it?
Yeah, I don't know who gave you an L this past weekend. I'm not talking about the team he went against. I'm talking about the team you went against.
Oh, you kind of lost me there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what Amalia was talking about. We'll move on now. Raiders. So QB Derek Carr is out. Marshawn Lynch, Amari Cooper, Jordy Nelson, and Jared Cook. And we got the Seahawks. QB Russell Wilson, Chris Carson, Rashard Penny, Tyler Lockett, Will Dissly, and Mike Davis. And the Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger, James Conner, Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, Jesse James, and Chris Boswell. So, man, that's a lot of offense, man. It's just bye weeks, man. It's only going to get worse. Mm-hmm. Bye week hell is 2 weeks away, so y'all be ready. That's 6 teams on bye.
Yeah.
But back to the start 'em, sit 'em, pick 'em. As you know, we retrieve the information from online, and we basically debate whether you should be starting or sitting these guys or not. So the first QB we're going to roll with today is the stardom. He goes by the name of Andrew Luck, and he plays the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I'll take this one. I think this is a tough matchup, but to say to start this guy, I'm not sure. I mean, the Bills have a tough defense as much as we trash on these guys during the show. So I don't know that he's definitely a start. He's been missing a lot of weapons all season. They can't seem to stay healthy. So I don't know what you guys think on this, but I don't know that I agree with this stardom pick.
Yeah, I'll backdoor you on that one because Buffalo only gives up, I think, the third most points to QBs. I mean, the third least points to QBs. So it doesn't look like a good matchup for Andrew Luck. Mm-hmm. Next guy, he was listed under the sit-em section. His name is Phillip Rivers, and he is going against the Tennessee Titans. Oh, and mind you, he was the sit of the week on NFL.com.
What are these guys thinking?
Yeah,
come on, Phillip Rivers. Like, you could not sit Phillip Rivers. I don't care if he's going against a pretty good, Tennessee defense, but this guy's averaging 2.5, say 2 to 3 touchdowns a game. Come on, no, he's a QB1, and you start him.
Yeah.
I don't care what this website was saying, but you start Mr. Phillip Rivers. He's having one of his best seasons by far.
Yeah, I agree with guys like Rodgers and Wilson and Roethlisberger all unavailable this week. I don't see how you can afford to sit Rivers. You're pretty deep at QB if you're even considering that.
And, Rivers, I mean, do you not see the weapons this guy has around him? I mean, it's stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no brainer.
I don't understand why that Chargers team is not more popular. I read earlier today that they're having a hard time selling licensing fees to the stadium, and they're discussing the viability of them in Los Angeles with the league.
LA is a Rams team. It's not a Chargers team. That's the reason.
Mm-hmm. And on top of that, I don't feel like LA can support 2 NFL teams. I mean, people just aren't into sports like that in LA. They're more concerned with, LA stuff, that LA lifestyle. But anyways, moving on, running backs. So running backs, stardom section, they had Mr. Chris Thompson from the Washington Redskins playing the Dallas Cowboys. Of course, I hate the Dallas Cowboys, but they actually have a pretty good defense. And Thompson was already inactive in week 6, and he's already been limited in practice so far this week. I don't think they're going to rush this guy back. And going against that tough defense, I think they'd probably only bruise him up even more. So I don't think he's a stardom this week. I think you leave him on the bench at least for another week.
Yeah, I'm hoping you're wrong, but I think you're probably going to be right. He left me a little bit high and dry last week. I'm hoping he comes back. I think, you and I were talking before the show. I think Peterson probably plays better when Thompson's available to help supplement what he does, but I haven't seen enough, watching practice updates this week to see if he's going to be available to trust that he's worth putting in your lineup this week.
Absolutely. So in the sit-em section, we had Mr. Alex Collins from the Baltimore Ravens. He is playing the New Orleans Saints. Talk to me, Amalean.
Here's another one that I disagree with. This is Alex Collins, okay? He's been real good at the goal line. And going against New Orleans, this is going to be a pretty high-scoring game. You have to start Alex Collins. And if you have a better option, guess what? Play that guy. Play both of them, too.
Yeah.
It's man, this is going to be a high scoring game, and we've seen it from New Orleans. All the games that they've been into, they've been averaging almost 30-point games. So Alex Collins, you start him. I do not agree with this sit-em.
Yeah, I mean, the Saints have a very tough run defense, but yeah, I was telling this to Matt earlier. Alex Collins, he's pretty much matchup proof. I'm not saying he's like a stud or anything, but he's pretty much, if he gets the touches he needs to get, he's going to give you 12 to 15 points for sure. So moving on. Wide receivers, we have Chris Godwin from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Cleveland Browns listed in the stardom section. I mean, I was a bit high on Godwin, but I don't know, it kind of cooled off. He was very touchdown dependent. It looked like his streak has kind of ended, and he hasn't reached over 75 yards in a game. This Cleveland pass defense, man, is pretty good, and I feel like there's too many options on Tampa Bay already. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think with Winston coming back, Winston's gonna start attacking his wide receivers that he favors, which is Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson, and I think Chris Godwin is just gonna start disappearing little by little.
Yep. So our next guy, this is a Detroit Lion, Marvin Jones. They're saying to sit Marvin Jones this week at Miami. I'm going to defend Marvin here. I know he seems to have fallen to third in the pecking order behind Galladay and Tate over in Detroit. He's probably not getting as many targets, but he's still one of their best, outside speed threats. Galladay's a big body. He's a good deep threat, but Marvin Jones is also a good deep threat, and I think he's due for a big game. I think Miami's only got so many players in a secondary, and they're going to be busy with Galladay and Tate. So I'm hoping to see Marvin Jones have a good week this week. I don't think you sit this guy.
Matt's pretty on point about his home team, guys. So I think it's pretty good advice. What do you think, Amalean?
I agree with this too, Marvin Jones, especially with all these other wide receivers on their buys. If you have Marvin Jones, or if he's still out there in the wire, pick him up and start this guy.
Yeah,
great. And last but not least, or maybe they are the least, tight ends.
Yeah.
Listed in the stardom section, we had CJ Uzomah. He comes up in our podcast a lot lately. What do you think? He's playing the Kansas City Chiefs, Amalean.
I agree with this start. Tight ends, they're hard to come around. If you don't have one of the top 3, top 4 tight ends out there, you're scrambling. You're probably switching out every week. And with the matchup that he has against Kansas City, this is a pretty good matchup. Because Kansas City averages about 90 yards to tight ends. And, it's a good start for me. And I'm going to agree with this one. And, put them in your tight ends if there's any of them out there.
I think the only reason we really questioned this stardom was because he's a Cincinnati tight end, and it seems like he might be due for a big injury, right, Matt?
Yeah. That's kind of been the trend over there. But I sort of agree. It's so thin at tight end right now. You maybe have to start this guy. I don't think he's a top 10 or maybe even a top 12 tight end. When everyone's active, but you got a couple of guys on bye this week, so he's definitely in that gray area.
He won't be in my lineup.
Maybe the third one is the charm. So
never know, man. You never know. Sit-em section. It looks like they had Greg Olston versus Philly. They're asking us to sit him. I don't know about that, man. Greg, he's back, broken foot seems to be okay, even though he's going to need surgery at the end of the season. But he did see 7 targets in his first game back. And like we said, man, it's thin at tight end. If you have Greg, definitely worth a start still.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is another guy that probably is on this list because there are some guys on bye and there are some injuries at the position. So it's a thin position. I don't see how you can't start Greg Olsen this week.
Yeah, and he was coming back from an injury, so I'm pretty sure that his performance from last week, was just pretty fluke. But he goes back to being the number 1 target, with the Panthers. He's the best wide out, even if he's a tight end, receiver out there.
Yeah,
very true.
Start 'em, sit 'em,
pick 'em. All right, so moving on. We give you our stardom picks for the week, people that we don't see that are listed out there that we think might have a good matchup. This is very key for some of you, especially this week. They list all the obvious ones. We're going to give you the ones that are the harder ones. The first start is the QB. Why don't you go ahead and take that one, Matt?
Yeah, this is a guy that I picked up this week. Joe Flacco against the Saints. The Saints are a pretty pass-friendly defense. They're giving up a lot of points to QBs over there in New Orleans. I don't think that Joe Flacco is necessarily somebody that's going to stick around on my roster very long, but for this week with Aaron Rodgers and Ben Roethlisberger both on bye, I think Joe Flacco is probably a start.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I mean, Saints give up third most points to QBs. I mean, that's like 25 points per game. I mean, that's hard to pass up on, especially on a week like this.
Yeah, it's gonna be a shootout over there. I'm telling you, it's gonna be probably a combined over 60 points for the game.
Yeah.
All right. Next, we have a running back. Amalean, tell us about this running back you want to start.
Peyton Barber versus the Browns. Browns have given up an average of 24 points to running backs this season, and that continue to keep happening. And I think Winston played a big part to Barber, especially with the run blocking performance by Tampa Bay, the offensive line. I see Barber going and having a pretty good, solid game, and he's a real good flex position player for this week.
Yeah, and later on, I'm going to tell you how I want to sit Jameis Winston. And since we kind of foresee him struggling, I think he's going to lean on his running back this week. So I think it's a good start as well. And wide receiver, starting pick for this week. As we've been saying, it's a shootout. It's going to go down, with the Saints and the Ravens. And I feel like the Ravens are going to get the best of that shootout because the Saints give up the most points to wide receivers. I mean, it's a whopping 36 points per game. I mean, you split that between John Brown and Michael Crabtree. I mean, I'd probably start both of them if I had both of them. I mean, I feel like it's going to be a good week. So if you own either of those Ravens receivers, definitely start one.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There's a lot of points to go around here to receivers in this game. And like you said, both of these guys are probably startable this week.
Actually, before I move on, we don't have a stardom pick. For tight ends, we just wanted to tell you, just start whoever you got that's healthy.
No kidding.
But anyways, moving on, our sit-em picks. I'll go ahead and take the QB. I'm probably the only one who might tell you this, but Jameis Winston versus the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to tell you, I mean, not so much to sit him, just kind of beware the start. The Browns, they only give up 14 points per game to QBs. Winston's numbers were heavily inflated after playing Atlanta Falcons. They give up the second most points to QBs, which is 26 points per game. Just don't go chasing those points. I mean, it's Winston's second game back or so. I'd if you have a better option, I mean, roll with that. Cleveland Browns are tough.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be tough to find a lot of teams with a better option than Winston this week. I mean, not difficult, but there are maybe 6 or 7 guys better than Winston this week, in my opinion. So if you've got one of them, definitely start him. But I think Winston will probably be in a lot of lineups this week.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure if you have Winston, I'm pretty sure you have another solid, quarterback, to be as your starter, because Winston wasn't your first option. So
right.
Yeah, to me,
sure.
Be careful, and if you have a better option than James Winston, please start that other option.
For sure. And running back, go ahead, take that running back, Matt.
All right, this is another guy I think you're going to find with all these recommendations. We try to give you original content here, guys that we're not seeing on other articles. And at this point in the season with bye weeks coming into play, it's tough to recommend sitting many guys. But we're going to warn you about another guy, Sony Michel of the Patriots versus the Bears. I think there's reason to be cautious, I'll say that. The Bears are not giving up a lot of points to running backs, about 10 points a game to running backs. Then again, you got Belichick too, who you never know what he's going to do with the running game. Who knows? He'll switch things up, and it'll be James White this week because he sees a weakness in the Bears' defense that other teams aren't exploiting. Who knows? There's always reason to be concerned when it's a Patriots running back. And against a defense like the Bears, I'm going to say be cautious with Sony Michel.
Yeah, but if that's your only option, yes, you start them.
Yeah.
But like I said, like we say, be cautious. And if you have a better option, start that other option.
Yeah, it is the Bears defense too. And I do want everybody to keep in mind, Sony Michel does have a knee injury, and he did log a limited practice on Wednesday. So just something to keep in mind. And the wide receiver, Amalean, go ahead and take that wide receiver.
Okay, so I'm not considering these to be a true sit-em. It's one of those you got to be careful, but they're the Broncos wide receivers versus the Cardinals. Okay, the Cardinals have been solid, against the receivers this season when it comes to to fantasy. But if you have to start one of these guys, I'm going with Emmanuel Sanders. But we go back to what we were saying. If you have a better option, start those other options, because the Cardinals, even though they've been pretty bad, but they still have a pretty good defense, especially a secondary.
Yeah, I think that secondary is about all that team has, and I think they know it. I've seen about a half dozen articles of different teams that are trying to trade for Patrick Peterson right now. So, I think that the team knows it's not going anywhere, and they're just trying to sell off their assets.
Yeah, and you have to make your decision quick too on this, because the Broncos, they do, they're playing today, so don't sleep on this. Make your choice and make it wise.
Yeah, I mean, Cardinals, they have like one of the worst rush defenses in the league, but definitely a strong secondary. So, just play with caution. That's all we're saying. And I guess our sit-em pick is only Dan can afford to sit a tight end. So
he's so deep.
He's so deep at the position. He's probably the only one that could sit a tight end. So hats off to you, Dan. But speaking of Dan, there's something we need to cover today, right, Amalean?
Yes, sir.
So Dan, as you can see, we put on some nice depressing music for you. Your Jack, he's in the ocean and he's freezing right now. That Jack's last name is Freeman.
He is not. He's finally a free man. He's free to go. So.
Yes. Yeah. Devonta Freeman, IR.
Yeah. If you didn't know, Devonta Freeman is on IR. Tell us a little bit about that, Matt. I think you're pretty happy about that move, aren't you?
I hate to, take joy from a man's injury, but I'm a Tevin Coleman owner. Now, given Tevin Coleman has not done a ton with his opportunities in Devonta Freeman's absence to this point. But he's going to be the guy now for the rest of the year unless they use their, IR return exception on Freeman. I think that's unlikely. So, we'll see what happens. Tevin Coleman could be available for trade if anyone's out there is looking for a running back at the moment. If you are a Devonta Freeman former owner and you're interested in Tevin Coleman, hit me up. I'm interested perhaps in Kerryon Johnson. I don't know. I'm just throwing out names. Let me know.
Frank Brown's about to call you as soon as he hears this. Even though he doesn't have Kerryon Johnson, he's going to try to offer him to you.
Yeah. Well, in our league, the owner of Devonta Freeman happens to own Kerryon Johnson. And I have Tevin Coleman. So, I mean, we can maybe work something out. Wow.
I hope he's listening right now.
He's not.
Wipe your tears and give Matt a call. Stat guy will be waiting by the phone.
I can help you out.
Oh, man. Love that. All right, let's go ahead and move on. This is Wild Predictions. And we are on Wild Predictions. Man, I think we're starting to suck at this.
They're wild.
That's why they're called why they're called Wild Predictions.
We get pretty close sometimes. I think I hit on one of them like week 1 or 2, but I mean that's probably about all we've had so far. Oh, actually, Amalean, you got pretty close. I think it was last week or so.
Yeah. If you make it easy on yourself, it's not considered a wild prediction. So it has to be one of those that it's out the roof. Like, what the are you thinking? But
yeah. Well, you're gonna love mine. All right. So last week, Tom Brady, I said he was gonna throw 400 yards, 5 touchdowns, and he was gonna give the Chiefs their first L. I did get one thing right. He did give the Chiefs their first L, but he only threw 1 touchdown for 340 yards. And that's kind of crazy to me because they scored like 43 points. So, I mean, you'd think that would have been pretty much all Brady, but I guess not.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the box score, but I'm surprised to see that as well.
Yeah, I think he ran one, so he had a rushing touchdown as well.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Only 3 more touchdowns to go, not close. But all right, so my new prediction this week, poor guy, my man Kenyan Drake, he's gonna fumble at the goal line and get that touchdown. So my wild prediction, since nobody believes in Kenyan Drake, I'm gonna believe in you one more week, Kenyan Drake. I feel like you're gonna go against Matthews Lions here, and you're gonna give me 150 total scrimmage yards and 1 touchdown. That's my wild prediction.
Boo. I hope you're wrong, but the Lions' rush defense has been pretty suspect so far this year.
Wow, Amalean, I'm surprised you have nothing to say.
Guys,
You're speechless.
I wanted to give a moment of silence for this because when are you going to give up? When are you going to give up on this guy? Stop. Throw him away. Bench him. Do something. Drake is done, okay? He's done.
Drake's in my starting lineup, all right?
But you know what? We'll cut you some black because it is a wild prediction, so.
Exactly. All right. What's yours, man? All right, well, tell us what happened for you last week.
My wild prediction last week was Texans defense will have 5 sacks, 2 interceptions, and 1 pick six. All right? Texans D. 2 interceptions, 1 pick six, but only 2 sacks.
Ooh,
so close.
Very
close. So close.
You got the tougher one. The pick six is the wildest prediction there.
Yeah, I agree.
And that was the game-winning pick six too against the Buffalo Bills. Come on, Texans, what are you doing?
Yeah, I might give you partial credit there.
And it's funny because I think both the interceptions actually came at the end of the game.
And yes, they did. End of the game. Okay, now my wild prediction to this week, and it's truly a wild prediction because it's hard for me to believe this hasn't happened. Okay, Julio Jones will score his first touchdown. Now that's wild, guys. That is wild. Okay, and if he doesn't score his first touchdown, I don't know what's going on over there in Atlanta.
I know what's gonna happen. If he don't score his next touchdown, we're gonna play this Titanic music for Julio Jones. So you watch out, Julio. We're gonna keep this on cue for you. All right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's another Atlanta Falcons. So.
All right. Well, I missed very badly. I missed about as badly as you can miss last week. I predicted that Dalvin Cook would look healthy for the first time. He would go for over 100 yards and he'd find the end zone. And I was so wrong that he was inactive. He didn't even dress for the game. So I could not have been more wrong there. And you'd think I would learn from my past bad predictions not to project good weeks for my guys on my own team. That did not work out with Dalvin last week, but I have not learned. I'm doing it with Odell Beckham this week. I'm going to say that Odell Beckham goes for season highs in both yards and touchdowns. I'm going to say he gets 150 yards, finds the end zone twice. They're going against Atlanta. That's a very pass-friendly defense. So I think Odell Beckham is in line for some season highs this week.
I hope that's true because my quarterback's on bye and I'm starting Eli Manning, and I'm hoping him and Odell, find their chemistry and their connection, So I'm with you on that, Matt.
I got a wild prediction for Odell Beckham.
What's that?
He will not cry this weekend because they will get a win.
Hey, Matt. So, going back to your Dalvin Cook, if you would have, just said Vikings running backs like we did in our stardom. Because we did say start Vikings running backs, but, your prediction would actually came true because Latavius Murray came through with 155 rushing yards and 1 touchdown. So
yeah, I was too specific, and I was greedy.
You were greedy, Matt. You almost had us one. That could have been a win. We could have chalked that up to a win, man.
Yeah,
I think we're gonna chalk Amaleo's up to a win. That
Yeah.
was pretty close.
Yeah.
That's back to back already on these.
All right, man. Let's go. All right, moving on.
It's now time for that part of the show. Ask Week 17.
Thank you, voice guy. So, question 1. It says, with Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and Ben Roethlisberger off, who is the best bye week replacement at QB? Well, I guess you have maybe Baker Mayfield as an option, maybe Mitchell Trubisky, maybe Eli Manning, maybe Joe Flacco. Out of all of those, I don't think any of those are really a bad start. Maybe Baker Mayfield, the worst one. He's not really a fantasy number guy, although he does got a good matchup versus Tampa Bay. So that is something to keep in mind. Mitchell, he's just been doing well, but he's probably the worst start. And I'm going to say that because he's playing New England. And they usually have their way with young quarterbacks. Eli Manning, he has a very, very good matchup. So I don't know. So does Joe Flacco. But I'm going to tell you, any of those are actually pretty good starts, but I personally went with Eli Manning, and Matt's going with Joe Flacco. So, any of those are fine.
All right, I'll take the next one here. Is there any hope for the Titans' offensive fantasy players? Let me ask you guys this question. Matt, who's your number one Titans fantasy player if you have one that you had to play?
Man, I don't know. If I'm listening to Frank Brown, I guess Derrick Henry.
What about you, Fourth?
I'm gonna roll with their kicker.
Yeah, their offense is bad. Okay, you don't start the running backs, you don't start the wide receivers, you don't start the quarterback. If you are going to start somebody, start the kicker because they cannot get to the red zone.
Yeah.
I think the only Titans offensive player I would have picked anyway, even at this point, would probably, if he was healthy, would have been Delaney Walker.
Yeah.
But
that offense went down once he went out.
Yep. All right. Our next question here. They want to know, how are you handling the Le'Veon Bell, James Conner situation? Well, I think unless someone's heard otherwise, he's Bell's still planning to report for week 8. Is that right?
That's what they're saying.
Yeah. So I think, you assume that that's true until you see otherwise. I don't believe that they're going to, stick with James Conner if Le'Veon Bell is available. Are they going to trade him? I mean, I don't know. He says he's going to try hard when he comes back. He said that in an interview today. That Bell said when he comes back, he's gonna play real hard. He wants to win a Super Bowl with the Steelers. So
yeah, if I was going with a best bet here, is they'll treat this running back duel like the Kamara and Ingram up there, with the Saints. That's how I see how they'll treat this, because there's no way you could sit down James Conner. That's just my opinion. This guy is putting up some numbers.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's see. Next question: who is your top sell high candidate right now? Okay, well, I'll give you 2. Texans fans, you're probably gonna hate me for saying this, but I feel like DeAndre Hopkins is probably in how can I say it? I foresee bad things happening to Deshaun Watson, because of this offensive line, and I just see him getting more and more banged up, and I just don't feel like Brandon Weeden will make DeAndre Hopkins as valuable. I still think he'll be a good receiver, but I think for what he's worth right now, you could definitely get a lot more, to help you, in the near future. The other guy I would probably say is Julian Edelman. So like in the past 2 games, he's seen about 20% of Tom Brady's targets. Brady's averaging like only 35 pass attempts this season. So, I mean, you kind of do the math on that. That's only like 7 targets a game for Edelman. And without a lot of touchdowns, that won't be good enough as a reliable starter. So I would use that name value and history to sell high.
Yeah, I agree with that right there. 4th. All right. I'll get it right here. Who is your favorite buy low candidate in fantasy right now? We talked about this guy earlier, and I'm going to mention his name is Peyton Barber. Okay, Peyton Barber has faced the 4 toughest, run defenses in the league so far, and I really look for him to start getting into the end zone, with start getting more touches to start producing. So to me, it's Peyton Barber. That's my, buy low candidate.
Yep, I think that sounds good. All right, we got somebody wanting to know who is a player you are 1 week away from dropping. Well, I'll tell you a guy that, yeah.
Drake.
Sure, yeah, could be, yep.
No.
I got another name. It was been a big name for a long time. Larry Fitzgerald. This guy was probably drafted pretty high, or at least in the middle rounds of most leagues, and he has been terrible so far. And I think probably a lot of guys, if they haven't dropped him already, are a week away from dropping Larry Fitzgerald.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I totally forgot about Fitzgerald. Oh my God.
Okay, so next question. My team is 1-5. What should I do? Please help.
Wow. Is this from your brother?
No, he's actually 2-4.
Yeah, I know.
Like me and you.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so
hey, but what about me?
1-5.
I know.
Let's not talk about that.
Continue.
All right.
Okay. All right. So if you're 1-5, I don't know. I guess it depends. If you're a high scoring team and you're 1-5, or do you have any valuable trade assets? You definitely want to look at that. If you definitely need to make some moves. So just kind of reevaluate your team. Definitely the players that you have on the bench, you definitely want to evaluate those and maybe try to start swapping them out with, taking chances, lotto picks, as I call them, on the waiver wire, just to see if you can get something going there. And definitely, like I said, if you have valuable assets that you think you could turn into more valuable assets, or at least to help balance your team out, I would make some trades to do that.
Yeah, so that's some pretty good advice there. See, I got another one here. Is who should I start at my flex this week? AP, Drake, or Crabtree? Well, it's going to come down to these 2 here, which is going to be AP and Crabtree. Okay, my best bet, it's going to be AP. They're going against Dallas, and I feel like AP is going to have one of those big games against Dallas. He's coming and he's playing at home. I see AP having a monster game.
All right, our last question of the week. Someone wants to know, should girls play fantasy football? I feel like this is a dangerous question, given our current the current social atmosphere in this country. But I will answer it delicately. I think girls should play fantasy football as long as they know their skill level. What I mean by that is, if you are good at fantasy football and you want to put in the time to be in a real league, absolutely. Play fantasy football. If you're like a work league level girl and you just want to throw money in because there's a work league, fine, do that. Everyone has that expectation, but don't oversell yourself and ruin somebody's league because you wanted to be the token girl in their league.
Yeah, don't go. Yeah, and I'll go with that. You got some girls out there that do know their football, but don't do it just to be part of the hype. Just because fantasy football is the thing and it's in, don't do it. And if you want to do it, go do it with a league of other individuals that are new to fantasy football.
Sure.
Yeah, I played with some girls at work, and their draft strategy was, basically they Google the player and just find out if he's cute or not. And they're like, yeah, I'm drafting him. Yeah, I don't care, whatever floats your boat, ladies.
Yeah, just don't ruin a good league.
All right, so moving on. So we have something we're going to go through pretty quick because we're running low on time here. Just our own league, APFC power rankings. So not much movement. King Sack still on top. You guys heard from him earlier this week. JJ Watt sits at number 2. Spoilers moves up a spot. Our very own Amalean moves down 1, and Runtel That is in the same position, number 5. Looks like Carry On My Wayward Son, our very own stat guy Matt, has moved up a spot. Loon's Goon Squad moved down 1. He's at spot number 7. Motivated Hustler looks like he's at spot 8. Naga Haters, he moves up 1. That's Dan. That's our guy Dan. Me, I'm sitting at number 10. I got dropped down a spot, and my brother Most Hated and Booby Miles occupy the last 2 spots. So those are our power rankings. I don't think there's much to talk about there. Anything you guys want to say?
I'll be moving up to top 3 after this week.
Yeah, I don't understand how I went up 1 spot after taking a loss, but I did have a pretty good point total, so that must have been what played into it.
Yeah, I took a beat down, so yeah, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, I will say I like my power ranking a lot better than my actual league ranking right now.
I'm not happy with either. But all right, let me cue the music, man, because I think we know what time it is.
Oh, yeah.
Amalean.
All right, guys.
Do your thing, man.
You hear the beat. All right, next week, guys, special guest. You know it. Every Monday, we get those questions going, and run and tell that we'll be here. And he's part of the APF, with our championship leagues and everything. And we'll see what he got going on, and we'll ask those questions.
Yeah, actually, I'm not sure if he's going to join for sure. I just read the text message. But if it's not this week, it might be next week. Either way, we'll have something for you guys, so don't worry. So let's talk about our Facebook. Look us up. Like our page, Week 17 Fantasy. YouTube, subscribe. I don't remember if we still upload our videos there, but if we do, Magic Mike probably does it because I haven't. But anyways, we're there too, Week 17 Fantasy. And of course, at us at Twitter on Week 17 Fantasy. And you can listen, or you can tell your friends to listen because you're probably already listening. Let them know we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other place where they do podcasts.
Sounds good. All right. And as always, we need your questions. Ask Week 17, everybody's favorite segment, Ask Week 17. Head on over to week17fantasy.com. You can find the link there.
Yeah, and don't forget, you can also submit those questions, just by simply emailing us, questions@week17fantasy.com.
All right, guys.
And I think that's it.
Yeah, Sunday Night Football. Bengals at Chiefs. Chiefs are favored to win by 6. Who y'all got?
Oh, I think the Chiefs at home is tough to pass on. I'll go with the Chiefs.
I'm going with the Chiefs too.
I think I'm going to ride with the Bengals. I think Chiefs are going to ride that losing streak for at least one more game.
All right.
Get out of here. Get out of here with that, guys. Guys, make sure you set up your lineups early. This week, we got a Sunday game, 8:30 a.m., Central Time. You got the Titans versus the Chargers. Don't fall asleep, guys. Don't fall asleep.
That's right. Good pro tip.
Yeah, that is a pro tip.
Watch those London games.
No doubt. So football all day. So everybody want to thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Peace.
Take it easy.